In March 1945, with the Danish resistance on the verge of collapse, British Mosquito bombers prepared for a daring mission to strike the Gestapo's headquarters right in the heart of Copenhagen. Known as the Shell House, the building held files that could dismantle the resistance and expose its final members. However, in addition to these critical documents, the upper floors imprisoned helpless Danish captives. To destroy the headquarters without killing the prisoners, only a precision low-level bombing raid could succeed. For this, the Royal Air Force turned to squadron leader Ted Sismore, their premier low-level navigator, to lead the mission. Flying just above the town center at 250 miles per hour, the Mosquito bombers closed in on their target. In addition to their 550-pound payloads, the pilots carried the weight of a nearly impossible mission. As the war in Europe entered its final months, the Modstandsbevægelsen, or Danish resistance, faced imminent destruction. The Gestapo's relentless crackdown had left the movement struggling to survive, its members hunted, and its networks exposed. By the spring of 1944, the Geheime Staatspolizei, the German secret police, had seized control of the Shell House, a 6-story office building located just 1,600 feet west of Copenhagen's town hall. Under its new function, the Shell House became the central command for Gestapo operations in Denmark. SS Sturmbannführer Karl-Heinz Hoffmann spearheaded the ruthless effort to dismantle the resistance, orchestrating interrogations, raids, and arrests. Inside the Shell House, makeshift prison cells confined Danish citizens suspected of aiding the resistance. Within these walls, captives endured brutal interrogations, their fate uncertain. More critically, the Gestapo meticulously maintained files detailing the underground movement's members, safhouses, and operations documents that, if left intact, could crush the resistance entirely. By late 1944, the movement teetered on the brink of collapse. Desperate, its leaders turned to British operatives, pleading for a Royal Air Force bombing raid to obliterate the Shell House and its damning records. However, this request came with a grave complication. The prison cells were located on the upper floors, meaning any high-altitude attack would likely kill the very people the mission sought to protect. A low-level strike was the only viable option, but executing such a raid in the center of a bustling city carried enormous risk. At first, the RAF hesitated. Striking only the middle and lower floors without endangering civilians or prisoners seemed nearly impossible. Yet, as the Gestapo's grip tightened and the urgency intensified, hesitation gave way to action. Accepting the challenge, the RAF committed to the mission, setting in motion a daring operation, Operation Carthage. During World War II, aerial bombing was often synonymous with widespread destruction rather than surgical precision. Early efforts at targeted strikes in Europe faced immense challenges: outdated technology, insufficient training, and the unpredictable nature of wartime weather. And as a result, both the Royal Air Force and the United States Army Air Forces relied heavily on high-altitude bombing. Their approach targeted large industrial zones rather than precise enemy installations. While effective, these massive raids devastated vast sections of German cities, often causing extensive collateral damage. One unit, however, defied these limitations. RAF No. 140 Wing, part of the 2nd Tactical Air Force. This elite unit, composed of 3 squadrons, had perfected the art of low-level precision bombing. Flying the de Havilland Mosquito, a light bomber prized for its speed and maneuverability, No. 140 Wing executed daring low-altitude strikes with unmatched accuracy. Their expertise led to a series of high-risk operations, later dubbed Mosquito Daylight Spectaculars. At the core of their success was Air Commodore Edward Ted Sismore, the RAF's leading low-level navigator. Fearless and precise, Sismore had already led some of the most audacious daylight raids in history. On January 31, 1943, alongside Reginald Reynolds, he spearheaded the RAF's first-ever daylight bombing of Berlin. Striking their target at exactly 11 a.m., their bombs detonated on schedule, interrupting Hermann Göring mid-speech in a stunning demonstration of precision. With such experience under his belt, Sismore and No. 140 Wing were the only ones capable of executing Operation Carthage, a mat would demand nothing short of perfection. with an elite squadron at their disposal. The RAF still needed a level of precision comparable to modern laser-guided weapons to ensure success in Operation Carthage. The most critical challenge was identifying a single building within a densely packed urban landscape. To overcome this, RAF planners combined aerial reconnaissance photography with intelligence from the Danish resistance, constructing a highly detailed relief model of the shell house and its surroundings. More than just a map, this model allowed pilots to immerse themselves in the attack plan, studying the structure from the exact low-altitude perspective they would experience during the raid. Precision was paramount. The Mosquito bombers were to fly at rooftop level, releasing their payloads on a flat trajectory to skip the bombs directly into the lower floors of the shell house. This technique would ensure that the Gestapo's records were obliterated, while leaving the upper floors intact to maximize the prisoners' survival chances. The RAF scheduled the attack for late morning, a window where two Gestapo shifts would overlap, ensuring maximum impact. However, delays plagued the operation. In December 1944, the raid was postponed due to the Battle of the Ardennes, a German counteroffensive in Belgium and Luxembourg. Then, in January 1945, unrelenting bad weather forced another delay. But, by March 1945, with the Gestapo's grip tightening more than ever, Danish resistance leaders sent an urgent plea to London. An attack had to happen immediately, at any cost. On March 21, 1945, at 8:55 a.m., 20 Mosquito bombers of No. 140 wing took off from RAF First Field in Norfolk. Most carried 500-pound explosives, while 2 aircraft belonged to the RAF Film Production Unit, assigned to document the raid in real time. Accompanying them were 30 Mustangs from the 11th Fighter Group, assigned to suppress anti-aircraft defenses and secure air superiority over Copenhagen. However, shortly after takeoff, 3 Mustangs aborted the mission, returning to base due to technical failures or collisions with a flock of seagulls. The rest of the squadron pressed forward, flying over the North Sea before reaching Tiso Lake in Western Zealand. There, the bombers split into 3 attack waves. The plan was simple, but required absolute precision. Approach from the south, follow the coastline, and use predetermined visual landmarks to guide the final attack run toward the shell house. The first wave of 6 Mosquitos, led by squadron leader Ted Sismore and commanded by Group Captain Robert Bateson, sped toward downtown Copenhagen, skimming just above the rooftops. The roar of their Merlin engines reverberated across the city as they approached the target zone. Then disaster struck. As the bombers passed Enghoff Station, Wing Commander Peter A. Klebeau miscalculated his altitude and clipped a lamppost. The collision sent his Mosquito spiraling off course, its wingtip striking a nearby building. The sudden impact dislodged both of its 500-pound bombs, which detonated upon impact with the ground. The out-of-control aircraft then crashed into a garage near a school, killing both crew members instantly. Despite this tragedy, the remaining bombers pressed forward, relying on Sismore's navigation to guide them to the shell house. As the building came into view, the pilots released their payloads in perfect unison. 6 bombs tore into the western wing of the Gestapo headquarters, sending shards of concrete and steel flying into the streets. Inside, shockwaves shattered windows, collapsed walls, and within moments, flames erupted, turning the building into an inferno. Winds fanned the blaze, engulfing the Gestapo's meticulously kept records, reducing years of intelligence to ash. The first wave had done the impossible. The shell house Gestapo's stronghold in Denmark was now in ruins. But the mission was not over yet. It was time for the final waves to finish the job. The second wave approached a city already in chaos. Disoriented by the haze, some pilots mistook the crash site for the target. Wing Commander Robert Wilson Iredale realized the mistake just in time. He redirected his aircraft, successfully hitting the shell house. However, the other Mosquitos in his wave failed to adjust course, dropping their bombs on the wrong site, adding to the unintended destruction. The third wave, led by Wing Commander FM Denton, faced similar confusion. Thick smoke obscured their vision, leading them to misidentify the school as the target. 6 Mosquitos dropped their payloads prematurely, furthering the collateral damage. The final aircraft, piloted by Flight Lieutenant Bob Kirkpatrick, had a different role, carrying incendiary bombs. His mission was to create a diversion beyond the shell house. Flying low, he steadied his Mosquito and dropped his incendiaries several blocks away, igniting fires that distracted enemy forces. Although his bombs landed half a mile from the target, the ruse worked. The Germans focused on the diversion, allowing the bombers to retreat. As the Mosquitos withdrew, they faced heavy losses. One crashed into the waters near Haven, its crew lost. Even the Mustangs suffered casualties. One was shot down by flak from the German cruiser Nuremberg, while another pilot was captured after crash landing near Copenhagen. Despite the setbacks, the shell house was ablaze, its records destroyed. In the chaos, over a dozen prisoners escaped, seizing their chance for freedom. The day after the raid, a No. 34 Wing reconnaissance aircraft flew over downtown Copenhagen, capturing images of the devastation. The photographs confirmed the mission's overwhelming impact. The shell house had been struck by 8 500-pound bombs, 6 in the western wing, 2 in the eastern wing, leaving it nearly level to the ground. According to the official damage report, the top story and roof of the south front were destroyed, and the remainder was partially gutted and destroyed. 11:39. The west wing was destroyed nearly to ground level, and the east wing, the top story and roof, were destroyed and the floor below damaged. The mission was most successful. Despite the destruction, the mission's greatest success lay in the survival of many prisoners. Thanks to precise targeting, the upper floors where most detainees were held remained largely intact. Amid the chaos, 18 of the 26 prisoners escaped, seizing their chance at freedom. Meanwhile, Gestapo casualties were severe. -55 personnel, including officers and staff, were confirmed killed in the attack. In the aftermath, the Copenhagen resistance sent a message of gratitude to the Royal Air Force. With the Gestapo's records reduced to ash, the immediate threat to the resistance movement was neutralized, allowing them to continue the fight. Against immense odds, the RAF had achieved the impossible. The success of Operation Carthage came at a devastating cost. Yet, the greatest tragedy was not among the RAF crews. At Jeanne d'Arc School, more than 100 civilians perished, including teachers, nuns, bystanders, and, most heartbreakingly, children. The pilots of Operation Carthage were unaware of the full human toll of their mission until after the war ended. Returning home, they mourned their fallen comrades while taking some solace in knowing that their actions had crippled an oppressive regime. Years later, Ted Sismore reflected on the mission with a haunting realization. If every bomb had struck the shell house as intended, few if any prisoners would have survived. The accuracy of the first wave, which had been so crucial to the mission's success, had also been incredibly lethal. He admitted, the loss of the children affected us very much. Today, a bronze cast propeller from one of the downed Mosquito bombers is mounted on the wall of the shell house, a solemn tribute to the airmen who never returned. Beneath it, a plaque bears the names of the 9 RF crew members who gave their lives in Operation Carthage. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to FLYTOP for more incredible wartime missions and hidden history. What other daring operations shaped the world? Stay with us to discover more.